Welcome to the deep dive. Now, when you think Silk Roads, try to forget that image of just one single dusty path.
Yeah, that's a common misconception. It was really this huge interconnected web, wasn't it? Routes crisscrossing Eurasia way before the 1200s.
Exactly. And it wasn't just about moving goods, it was massive for spreading culture ideas, what we call cultural diffusion.
Right, so inventions, beliefs, customs, all flowing between different peoples, mostly through trade contacts along these routes.
And the trade itself, while varied, really hinged on the fancy stuff, the luxury goods,
Yeah.
Chinese silk especially.
Absolutely. I mean, think about the cost of hauling things thousands of miles back then. It had to be high-value, low-bulk items to make it worth the risk and expense. Silk fit the bill perfectly.
Okay, so that network's established, but what we're really digging into today is the time between, say, 1200 and 1450. What kicked things up a notch?
Uh-huh. What caused that surge in activity,
Yeah.
and just as importantly, what happened because of it, the ripple effects.
We've got some great material to look at the why and the what happened next. That's our mission for this deep dive.
Okay, so let's start with the causes. What actually drove this big increase in trade? The sources point to some really clever innovations in how business was done.
Right, the commercial side of things. One huge factor seems to be the development of, well, money economies.
Yeah.
And China was way ahead here.
Way ahead. They pioneered paper money.
Yeah.
And you have to understand how revolutionary that was.
Before that, it was all about the weight of coins, basically.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Paper money. It's lighter, obviously, but it's also an abstraction. It's a promise representing value held somewhere else. It completely changed how people thought about wealth and trade.
Okay, I see.
And think about this.
Yeah.
It meant a merchant could deposit coins, maybe gold or silver, in one city
Uh-huh.
and get a paper certificate. Then travel hundreds of miles, present that certificate in another city, and withdraw the same amount. Much safer, much easier.
That makes total sense. Less chance of getting robbed, less weight to carry. But it wasn't just paper money, was it? Credit became more common, too.
Yes, absolutely. The growing use of credit was vital. The Chinese had this system, sometimes called flying money.
Flying money? Sounds intriguing.
It does. Basically, a merchant could get a kind of IOU, a credit note, maybe from a trusted family or association in one place,
Okay.
and then exchange that note for actual coins somewhere else down the line. Again, less need to haul physical currency around. It oiled the wheels of trade significantly.
So almost like early travelers' checks or bank drafts made everything more fluid.
Precisely. And with all these paper promises flying around, you needed institutions you could trust, right, to manage it all.
Which leads naturally to banks, I suppose.
Exactly. The need for banks grew. Our sources mention European banking houses popping up, and they actually borrowed ideas from these Chinese models.
And they use things like the Bill of Exchange.
That's right. A bill of exchange works similarly. You present this document, and it allows you to get funds equivalent to what you deposited or arranged elsewhere. It's all about enabling trade over long distances without physically moving chests full of gold.
So these financial innovations were really key to scaling things up.
Definitely set the stage.
Hmm.
But, you also need to physically move the goods and the people.
Right, the logistics. And the sources talk about transportation innovations, too.
They do. And some seem simple, but were incredibly effective. Take the caravanserai.
Ah, yes, the roadside inns along the routes.
But more than just inns. Think of them as fortified guest houses, strategically placed about a day's journey apart along the main roads.
Like service stations and secure compounds were rolled into one.
Kind of, yeah. They had two main jobs. First, safety. Merchants carried valuable stuff, silk, spices, gems. Bandits were a real threat. Caravanserai offered protection.
Makes sense. Secure walls, guards, maybe?
Likely. And the second function, maybe even more important long-term, was cultural exchange.
Because everyone was stopping there.
Exactly. You'd have merchants from Persia, India, China, the Mediterranean all mingling, resting their animals, trading stories, sharing news.
So these places became little melting pots along the road, exchanging ideas, not just goods.
Absolutely. And technologies, too. Which brings us to something else seemingly basic. Saddles.
Saddles, really? How did they change things so much?
Well, think about riding a camel for weeks on end without a good saddle.
Yeah.
The agony, right? Limits how far you can go, how fast.
I imagine so, yes. Chafing would be the least of your worries.
Right. So better saddle designs, especially frame and mattress saddles, made riding much more comfortable. Longer journeys became feasible.
Okay, rider comfort, got it.
But crucially, these newer saddles also distributed weight better on the animal's back.
So the camels or horses could carry more?
Significantly more, without getting injured. More goods per animal meant lower transport costs per item. That makes longer trade routes more profitable, opening up new possibilities.
Greater comfort, greater capacity. Simple, but with huge implications for efficiency.
Okay, so we've got better finance, better transport. What were the effects on the ground?
Well, one major effect was the rise of new powerful trading cities. They popped up in strategic spots along these improved routes.
Often places with essential resources, I assume, or just natural crossroads.
Both. Remember, parts of these journeys were incredibly tough. Deserts, mountains, you needed places to restock water, food.
The sources highlight Kashgar and Samarkand. Let's take Kashgar first in western China. Why there?
Kashgar was perfectly placed. It sat right where two major Silk Road branches met, just as travelers were coming out of or heading into some really harsh desert and mountain terrain.
A natural bottleneck almost.
And crucially, it had a river. That meant water, fertile land for agriculture. So food and water for merchants and animals were available.
A vital oasis, then.
Definitely. And as trade boomed, Kashgar grew from just a stopping point into a major market city. It even became a significant center for Islamic learning and scholarship. Wow, so it transformed entirely. What about Samarkand in Central Asia?
Samarkand, again, great location at a convergence of routes, but Samarkand became especially famous as this incredible melting pot of cultures.
Even more so than other places.
It seems so. Merchants came from everywhere, bringing their languages, religions, customs. The level of cultural exchange was apparently profound. Archaeology there shows evidence of Christian, Zoroastrian, Buddhist, and Islamic influences all coexisting.
That's amazing, a truly cosmopolitan center fueled by trade.
Exactly. So, besides these big cities, what else changed due to more trade?
Well, demand. The sources emphasized the huge demand for things like Chinese silk and porcelain.
Right, and that demand rippled backward. Artisans in China, but also India and Persia, ramped up production to meet it.
And this had knock-on effects on whole populations, didn't it?
It really did. We see this fascinating example in China's Yangtze River Valley. Peasants there started shifting away from growing food and focused more on producing silk textiles, specifically for export. That's a major economic shift for ordinary people.
Dedicating their land and labor to making trade goods instead of feeding themselves directly.
Precisely. And this shift, this focus on producing more than needed locally, mainly for export, you could call it a kind of proto-industrialization.
Like early steps towards mass production, but before factories.
Sort of, yeah. Producing for a market far beyond your own community. And the profits coming back into China from selling silk and porcelain abroad. They weren't just sitting idle. They got reinvested.
Into what?
Notably into China's growing iron and steel production. So trade fueled other industries too.
It's like a positive feedback loop. More trade, more demand, more specialized production, more investment, further growth.
That's a good way to put it. And of course, wrapped up in all this movement of goods and people is that cultural diffusion we mentioned earlier.
Back to the caravanserai mingling and just merchants traveling generally.
Absolutely. They weren't just carrying silk, they were carrying their beliefs. Islamic merchants helped spread Islam. Buddhist merchants spread Buddhism.
In technologies, too, like those saddles presumably got shared and copied along the way.
No doubt. It's a reminder that this kind of global interconnectedness isn't just a modern thing. These networks created remarkable links across vast distances long ago.
A very powerful point.
But we also have to acknowledge the downside of all this increased connection. It wasn't just ideas and goods that traveled fast.
Diseases, too.
Unfortunately, yes. The increased traffic along the Silk Roads also provided pathways for diseases to spread much further and faster than before. The most infamous example, of course, is the bubonic plague.
The Black Death.
Exactly, a devastating consequence of this interconnectedness. We'll definitely need to delve into that impact more deeply another time.
Okay, so wrapping this up then, we've seen how innovations in finance, paper money, credit, banks, and in transport, the caravanserai, better saddles really turbocharged the Silk Roads after 1200.
Right, and the results were huge. Powerful new trading cities like Kashgar and Samarkand rising to prominence.
Surging demand for luxury goods leading to economic shifts like proto-industrialization in China.
And this intense cultural exchange, spreading religions, ideas, technologies, but also, tragically, disease.
It created a far more interconnected Eurasian world, for better and for worse.
That's the essence of it.
You know, this deep dive really makes you think how seemingly small changes, like a new type of saddle or a system of paper notes, can fundamentally reshape societies and global links.
It's true, the knock-on effects can be enormous.
Makes you wonder about our own time, doesn't it? What innovations happening now, maybe seemingly minor, might be setting the stage for equally massive transformations down the road? Something to ponder. Thanks for joining us for this exploration.